Iron Maiden were embarking on the US leg of their Beast on the Road tour. But this was to be no normal tour. The band had been singled out as dangerous, and wait for it, satanic, by a conservative political lobbying group, and thus a crowd of Christian activists destroyed a bunch of Iron Maiden records on a large bonfire. So, and not for the first time, rock music found itself smack bang centre of controversy, and all thanks to the ludicrous fictional claims of conservative Christians.
We have 98% Anglo-Saxon race.
It's 1956, and a certain Asa Carter, leader of the Klansmen and white citizens, describes rock and roll as sensuous Negro music that was destroying the entire moral structure of man, of Christianity, of spirituality in holy marriage, of all the white man has built through his devotion to God. Carter then sees an opportunity to garner greater attention to the cause. Nat King Cole, who's actually more crooner than rock and roll, was scheduled to perform at the Municipal Auditorium in Birmingham, Alabama. As the son of a preacher and choir director mother, Cole was the kind of wholesome singer that mainstream America was embracing. The trouble, though, was that embrace and desire was being enthusiastically expressed by white teenage girls, and Cole was a black adult male. This incensed Carter, so he gathered 5 of his segregationist friends from nearby Anniston and sent them to the show to cause trouble and create headlines. And as directed, the thugs stormed the stage, one even punching Nat King Cole. The Pentecostal movement was also finding itself in the crosshairs of evangelicals, due to its popularity in African American churches and the undeniable influence it was having on rock music. Figures like Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Johnny Cash were all following the effect of Pentecostalism, with Elvis Presley specifically copying elements from the Southern gospel singer Jake Hess. Oh yeah, the fear of multiculturalism was pushing evangelicals over the edge with their dislike of rock and roll. Through the history of Southern politics, there was an underlying fear of, in their words, a Negro takeover, one that would include both political and governmental structure.
The South will not abide by nor obey this legislative decision by a political...
And rock music was greatly shaped by African American musicians such as Little Richard, Billie Holiday, Chuck Berry, and B.B. King. These musicians were all part and parcel of the jazz and blues genre that was influencing and quickly evolving into rock and roll. People like Asa Carter, well, they didn't like that. Entering the 1960s, and racial tension was rising in the United States. Conservative Christians had found an enemy in rock music.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Chubby Checker.
Not only because of its multiculturalism, but also what this meant in terms of the integration of non-white Christian culture into American society. Then, in March 1966, the Evangelicals would take aim at a group of 4 young men from Liverpool in the UK. John Lennon delivered his remark about the Beatles being more popular than Jesus Christ to a newspaper in Britain. And you can kind of imagine how that went down across the pond, especially in the southern states.
I was saying it in the simplest form that I know, which is the natural way I talk. More popular than Jesus and so and so and so and so. But she took them, and people that know me took them exactly as it was, because they know that's how I talk, you know.
Protests were held, and the idea of burning records would soon take hold as a growing movement to opposition to rock and roll. In Longview, Texas, even a local radio station got involved. The station was called Clue, and it encouraged teens to bring along their Beatles records and merchandise at an organised bonfire event. The flames of intolerance and bigotry would soon be flickering at any appropriate moment that would arise. It's now 1979, and a new American conservatism is on the rise.
I'm sick and tired of hearing about all of the radicals and the perverts and the liberals and the leftists and the communists coming out of the closets. It's time for God's people to come out of the closets, out of the churches, and change America.
An organisation that's combining the emotive obedience of religion with politics.
We've got to raise up an army of men and women in America who will call this nation back to moral sanity and sensibility. I call that the moral majority.
Founded by a Baptist minister, Jerry Falwell Sr., the Moral Majority is a lobbying group that will soon go on to galvanise voters to elect Ronald Reagan as president in 1980. And so the mood in America was such. On November the 24th, 1979, brothers Dan and Steve Peters of the Zion Christian Life Center in St. Paul hosted their first record burning to call attention to what they considered the insidious anti-Christian messages being forced on America's youth by the music industry. And so 100 angry evangelicals gathered to burn and destroy the records of numerous artists, including the Eagles, Donna Summer, Led Zeppelin, the Beach Boys, and Kiss. And they especially went out to target Kiss, because they claimed that Kiss was an abbreviation for... I'm not even going to repeat it. It's just so... it's ridiculous. And so, the Peters brothers quickly became national media sensations, and as well as their organised bonfire events, they would follow up activities by making outrageous claims such as, "Mick Jagger wants to control your mind." Yeah, really, they actually said that about Mick. And for several years, the Peters brothers made a decent living as the country's best-known anti-rock crusaders. Yep, that's right. The Peters brothers were coining it in big time. Yeah, there you go. So by the time Iron Maiden had burst onto the music scene, the burning of record vinyl had become quite a well-practiced form of protest. And so Maiden became another one of many to be targeted. And yet, Maiden's experience would be a tad bit stranger than normal. According to their manager Rod Smallwood, after initially burning their records, the Christian protest groups would later decide to destroy them by smashing them up, due to fear of breathing in the melting vinyl's fumes. Bonkers, really. But as the singer of the band, Bruce Dickinson, would go on to state, it was actually great publicity for Iron Maiden. As we know, Bonfires didn't stop Iron Maiden, because they went on to become one of the biggest bands in the history of heavy metal. And it didn't stop rock music, and perhaps even assisted it in becoming a mainstay music genre. And of course, in today's age of streaming, the crackling bonfires have now stopped, and in all probability, we won't see anything quite like those scenes ever again. And yet, it would be remiss not to acknowledge that the ideology and bigotry behind those bonfires has certainly not gone away.